What's up, guys? Shane with Team Fly Halo. So for this motor minute, I'm going to go over real quick how we apply prop tape to our propellers. As you know, most people use carbon fiber props. They're really expensive to replace. Things like sandblasting flying at the beach, kicking rocks through, exhaust springs going through, all those kind of things, that kind of damage can be prevented by just using some kind of cheap and available prop tape. So this is the same kind of method that we teach in our classes, and the type of tape that we use is just 3M clear adhesive, and you actually get it from custom car shops. They use it for clear bra material. I would caution you against using kind of lower end brands or trying to save money. The actual 3M stuff peels off as one whole unit and is a lot easier to get all the residue off when changing the prop tape after it's kind of expired. So first thing you have to do is draw a pattern out on your material. So as you can see, I'm going with two 1-inch wide strips, and I've made marks at 1/4 of an inch here on two sides. This is actually enough to do two props, so 4 blades. So a 3/4 inch strip right here, 1/4 inch mark here. This will make 4 pieces. This is about 13 inches long, and it just kind of depends on what type of prop you're going to use. Mine has kind of a fat curve, so I'm just making it a little bit longer than I normally would, but ultimately you only need about the last 1/3 of the prop covered. So what I'm going to do is, just using a framing square, just going to draw lines showing those little marks from 1/4 to 3/4. And I'll go ahead and draw the pattern out for the second one. I've found it's kind of easiest if you do these in bulk rather than just doing one at a time. And then I'm going to go ahead and commence the cutting. Get your Scarface razor blade. And I'd caution you to use a brand new razor blade, because as you cut, the kind of tape residue builds up on the tip of it and it kind of jumps. So if it's not extremely sharp, it'll kind of mess up the edge. Make sure and show all of this. Okay, so now we have our 2 pieces, but there is one issue with them, and that is that this angle is not correct. So you just have to kind of straighten this out. There's a, kind of one camp that says balancing this afterwards is really important. I've personally never done it and never noticed any issues. So I'm just going to eyeball this to try and cut this off at a right angle. And I'm going to try and do that as evenly as possible between these two. This step is for the extreme anal retentives. Okay, now that we're done with that, next thing we have to do is prepare the surface of the prop. It's actually easiest done if the prop is mounted on the motor and you have a friend hold the other end so that it doesn't rotate on you. So I'm going to go ahead and use our little clamp that we have down here in the Team Fly Halo prop tape application studio. Alright, so we've got our prop mounted here and ready. The first thing we need to do is prepare the surface. So I normally clean the prop off after a flight with just Windex. It just gets the 2-stroke oil off of it. And this isn't like a paint type application where it's super sensitive to what kind of chemicals, so you don't need to take an alcohol pad or anything like that. So all I do is prepare that surface with Windex. This one's a brand new prop, doesn't need it, but just go ahead and show you how that works anyway. And again, we're only doing like the end 1/3. So that should be plenty. Make sure it's dry. I would caution you You do not want to shave on the day that you plan to apply prop tape, because I've noticed that shaving cream residue does tend to foul up the adhesive. So I didn't. Okay. Getting back to the application of the prop tape, there's kind of a weird technique that I use. Not everybody shares the same technique, but I go ahead and peel off the first 1/4 inch or so, and then I grab it, knowing that I'm fouling up that part of the adhesive, and I'm actually not going to stick that part of it to it. I kind of overlap. I hold on to the backing, and I overlap the tip, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here in just a second after I get this applied. And I apply it right down the spine of the leading edge of the prop, and I don't stretch the tape. That is the key. If you've ever tried this and you've blown the tape off on the first flight, that's why. Don't stretch it, don't stretch it, don't stretch it. One of the toughest parts is seeing where the actual ridge is, so adequate lighting is pretty helpful. And just kind of help that guy along, and it's okay if you miss it and pull it back up. Once again, I'm not stretching it, just pushing it down so it's right on the spine of that leading edge. And then it's just a matter of sticking it down without wrinkling it. So the next thing I do is I just take my finger and kind of lightly go along the surface of this, pushing harder and harder, basically using the kind of fat of my finger to push this down in small increments. And as you can see, I'm kind of rolling around the edge. You'll see people put this on by going like this, but I've found this is the best technique for doing it consistently along the edge. And I don't quite go to the corner, I just deal with this long axis of it first, and on one side, and then do the same thing on this side and go back and forth, sticking more and more and more. Okay, that looks pretty good there. And then I just do the same thing on the corner, but I kind of do it, I do a little bit more at a time. So I'm pushing down with my finger, maybe even my thumb, and just getting it to stick on the ridge in the smallest increments you can. As you can see, it's starting to kind of fold up like a ribbon. So on this end, I can get this down and stick it. And if it looks like it's going to fold, do that. But only on the end. You do that, or only on the round part of the prop you do it. Okay. Next thing you do is you come back with your razor blade and you cut off anything that looks like it's going to fly off. So anywhere it's not stuck in a really positive way, let's go ahead and cut that guy off. And then push it down. After your first flight, this might come up just an 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, and you just kind of stretch it just a little bit and then push it back down, and I've never really had issues with it ever since then. So if applied correctly, the prop tape can last you a really long time. I've flown the beach and put 3 or 4 students on one motor with touch and goes through the sand and not fouled it up. When it's time to replace it is when it starts getting sandblasted to the point where there's sand under it, or if you take a big spring or big chunk, but I've actually seen big rocks get thrown through these, and this kind of prop tape totally protect it. So that's your easy way to apply prop tape. Hope this helped. Thanks, guys.